Today I'm going to be showing you my stock portfolio in my stocks and shares ISA, and indeed showing you how much dividends I've received from an £129,000 portfolio. So as you can see, my current value of my portfolio is £129,000, just over. I've got a little bit of cash. I'm just going to leave that there until the new tax year comes, because then I'll get more allowance. Probably won't do anything with that cash because I can't. I like buying full shares. It's part of my OCD, so that would just sit there gathering interest, which to be honest isn't a bad thing. Now, if we go over to my history, you can see my interest on cash over the full time I've owned my ISA. People might be thinking, oh, this I was expecting this to be more. Well, most of the time, I always have my money invested in stocks. There's only been one time in history of this account where I haven't had any money um, invested in stocks, and I've had it all in cash, and that was only for like a week, which is why you see the £42, because a lot of that just came from that. People might be like, okay, that's a nice amount of interest, but when you look at the FX costs of all of because I like to buy US stocks, then it just completely eats up any of that total interest. And if you look at the actual total amount that I've spent in transaction costs to buy in US dollars, to buy in US stocks, yeah, I'm still it's a nice supplement. It negates the cost of that, but it still doesn't cover the full cost of it. So if we go into my dividends, I have received £5.88 from dividends over the course of my investing journey. When I first started out investing, I loved the idea of dividends because it is the one true way of getting passive income. There isn't really a more passive income than dividends, because you don't have to do anything. You have to run the company. Yes, you have to research the company and decide it's a good company. But even if you buy the S&P 500, then you don't even have to do that. So you can just buy and hold and receive a dividend, and when I first started investing, that was a dream, just passive income. But as I've grown older, and because I have such a long time horizon, I'm only 22 years old, like reducing like return, that where I could be putting money in growth stock to be getting a lower return, but then receiving a dividend, just didn't really make sense to me. And I can always grow my portfolio. So if we see here, I've grown my portfolio to £129,000. So because it was, if we look at earlier, not too long ago, when it was valued at like 58, £70,000 before it had the massive jump up, I could have invested that all into dividend stocks, paying me back like a 2% yield. But the realization I came to a lot earlier in my investing journey was invest heavily into growth stocks, let the value increase massively, and then come back to dividend stocks later down the line. And although you might be, instead of buying now at a 1% yield, and then you'll be technically still buying it like whatever the yield on cost is, but because you've had all that growth, your yield on cost would actually be higher. So say, for example, I had £50,000, and I could be investing it in a company that pays a 1% dividend. So that would be getting me £500 a year. But say I put that into a growth stock that doubles, then it goes up to £100,000, and I sell and reinvest all of that £100,000. Yes, it's still 1% of £100,000, and I get £1,000 a year in dividends, but it's actually the cost basis would be £50,000 worth of your money going in. So that's the kind of the thought I had, like when I had it from a younger age, because initially I was like, dividends, and you can see in the 13th September 2021, that's when I received my last dividend, and that's when I decided to go all in for growth. I don't recommend, like, this is obviously not financial advice. I don't recommend you put all your money in one stock. I'm in a very lucky position where if this was to go to zero tomorrow, it wouldn't affect my life drastically, because I'm still very obviously it'd hurt, but I'm still very young. I'm living at home. My bills are very, very, very low. Like I can save 95% of my income. That's one of the questions that I've been receiving a lot recently, is how have you received like grown a portfolio so much, because as you guys can see, my net deposits in this account is nearly £80,000. They're like, how have you put in £80,000 in 4 years of investing from 18 to 22? And it has literally been because I don't spend money. My savings rate from any money I earn is literally 95%. I literally get my paycheck instantly, like 95% of it goes out the window, or not out the window, it go into my stocks and shares ISA, which is why you can see that my ISA allowance is fully used for this year. Anyway, guys, so that's kind of been my thought process when it comes to, you know, dividend investing. I love dividend investing, but for me right now, I've just decided just to wait, you know, grow my portfolio, and then maybe I can, you know, reposition later down the line if I wanted to, when I think it's best to go into the dividend route then. Now me doing this isn't saying that I won't buy dividends sooner, because I'm looking to hold Tesla for a very long time. In fact, I'll say it now, the only thing that is making me think of selling Tesla is if they never pay a dividend, because I think it's very likely that they'll eventually pay a dividend in 2030, or like, you know, on the early 2030s, or maybe even the late 2020s, like 2029, 2028. Obviously, people are like, no, Elon's not a fan of dividend. But if you think about it logically, if they're printing so much money, you know, where they can't reinvest it into the business, obviously they can do share buybacks and focus on all their money on share buybacks. Then, you know, that what else are they going to do with the money? We've seen recently that Google was very adamant, you know, when its peers Microsoft, Apple were paying a dividend, Google was very adamant it wasn't going to pay a dividend, it was going to focus on share repurchases. But in fact, it changed its mind and decided to start issuing a dividend, and you know that was received very well by investors. As soon as they, you know, announced that they were going to be doing a dividend, you know, the stock jumped. I don't know the exact figures, but anyway, guys, I know it's a bit underwhelming when you look at £129,000 portfolio, but you go into my dividend history and be like, oh, you know, £5.88. You know, I've received more total interest than that. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Anyway, that'll be it with me. It for me today, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.